Yeah. Like I had this observation about Sam Harris, who has the app. I think I can't remember the name of his app, his meditation app. But he is sort of a staunch critic of religion and he's written many books on it. And I thought to myself, well, in the past, perhaps some of his followers might have gone to church, or even some of them might have gone to the mosque, and they might have paid for, I don't know, like charity or whatever for their admission to that. And I think to myself, they've just replaced that with paying Sam Harris and a company to do a meditation app for them. And it's the same thing that someone, their ancestors 2 generations prior would have done, but they would have just paid like for a community, and they're paying for that same community, but it's a digital community and they're getting an app instead.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% believe that. And I often think that when I see these kind of like communities spring up, when you see people get obsessed with like Soul Cycle or Peloton or whatever, and
Yeah.
you're like, these places are modeled on churches. Like, this is how people have learned to communicate. It's from going to church or seeing religious leaders speak. I think, when I kind of think what I would hope people take away from this book, I don't expect everyone to put this book down and be like, I'm a nihilist forever. I don't believe in anything anymore. Obviously, most books you read, you probably actually walk away with like 10% of it that you apply to your
Yeah.
life. But I do think that if there was something I hope people absorb, it's this idea of you don't have to give up on like a quest for meaning or completely reject it. But I think that there is a lot to be achieved from doing what you've just explained. When someone presents you with like a new architecture of something that is meaningful, to just pause for a second and say, A, what am I trying to get out of this? Like, what am I actually trying to achieve here? Or what is this person kind of trying to get out of me?
Mm.
Because, I mean, there are a lot of systems of meaning. I don't think that there are, I think most people who meditate every day probably aren't having any toxic side effects from it. But I do think that this kind of like endless thirst for meaning and this desire to be told what to do and to be told that we're living correctly does make us vulnerable to exploitation.